Torta Caprese is one of my favorite Italian desserts, and Capri is known for its lemons, so why not make a lemon version? This version is a little less rich than its traditional chocolate version, so it's perfect for a nice afternoon snack. And bonus, it's naturally gluten-free. So let me show you how to make it. Place a heat-proof bowl over top of a pan with about 1 inch of water that's gently simmering. To the bowl, add 170 grams, 3/4 cups of butter, and allow it to melt most of the way. I like to give it a little helping hand by breaking it up with my spatula. Now that the butter is about halfway melted, I'm going to add in 170 grams, 6 ounces of white chocolate. You want to be sure to continue checking your heat at this point. If it gets too hot, it might seize. Another good way to prevent seizing is to continue stirring. It's important to melt your butter and chocolate together before you do anything else. You want this to melt and then come down to room temperature before adding anything else in. Once your chocolate is about 75–80% melted, take it off the heat and continue whisking. I'd rather have a few tiny bits of white chocolate in my cake than a whole bowl of seized chocolate. It should look something like this, a bit like a crème pâtissière. Now set that aside to cool. You need 250 grams of eggs out of the shell for this recipe. That normally equates to about 5 large eggs, but my eggs today are a little bit small, so I'm using 6. Measuring by weight is always your best bet for perfect results. Separate your egg whites and egg yolks into 2 bowls. Use the larger bowl for the yolks because that's where we're going to be mixing all of the rest of the ingredients. It's really important not to get any yolk in the egg whites or they won't whip up. If you do, use a bit of the shell to scoop it out. The egg yolk is naturally attracted to the shell, so it will come out more easily than trying to scoop it out with a spoon. It's important to break your eggs on a flat surface so no bits of shell get into the egg itself. That little bit of shell can pierce the yolk really easily. Add a 1/4 teaspoon, about 1½ grams of salt to your egg whites. Then start whisking on a quick speed until they come to stiff peaks. In the mixer, it should only take a few minutes. Your egg whites should have a nice stiff peak, but still be glossy. We don't want them dry. Now set these aside. To your egg yolks, add 130 grams, 2/3 a cup of granulated white sugar. Then whisk these up for a few minutes until they're pale and fluffy. If you're using a stand mixer, you may need to scrape down the sides of the bowl. This makes sure that your mixture is nice and consistent. Now keep mixing. Once it's a nice pale color and it's really fluffy, you can stop mixing and we're going to add in the rest of our ingredients. Your chocolate mixture should now be just about room temperature, just warm to the touch when you put your finger in. So we're going to add it into our egg yolks. Give that a little stir to start combining. I like to mix this with a spatula and not the mixer because it's just a little bit more gentle. This way, nothing splits and everything comes together really nicely. Now add in 150 grams, 1½ cups of almond flour. To this, let's add in the zest and juice of 2 lemons. If your lemons are particularly hard, you can pop them in the microwave for about 30 seconds and it will burst all of the bits inside, making sure you get all of the juice out of your lemon. I'm using organic lemons for this recipe because I don't like all of the pesticides when I'm putting the zest in a cake. But if you can't find organic, just make sure you're using unwaxed. My lemons are a bit seedy, so I'm going to actually juice them through a sieve and give them a good squeeze. You need about a 1/4 cup, about 60 milliliters of lemon juice in total. Now give that a really good mix to combine. It smells so fresh and lemony. Line a 9-inch springform pan with a piece of parchment paper. Alternatively, you could butter it. I find using parchment easier to take the cake out of the pan at the end. My favorite springform hack is taking the bottom and flipping it over so that you don't have that little lip on the inside. It makes it so much easier to get your bakes out once they're done. This bit's a little bit finicky, but I promise it's worth it. I pop my piece of parchment right over the bottom piece and then place my sides on top and gently sort of start to squish it into place. You might need to pop your fingers underneath to get the bottom bit into the grooves. Give your paper just a gentle tug so it's nice and even on the bottom. Once you've done it a few times, it becomes like second nature. Now let's fold in our egg whites. I like to add 1/3 and mix quite vigorously and then gently fold in the rest of the egg whites. This helps to lighten the egg yolk mixture before adding in the rest of the egg whites, making sure the incorporation is really smooth. And in we go with the rest of our egg whites. Now just gently fold them in. You want to try and keep as much air in the mixture as possible, so do this gently, but make sure you have no little bits of egg white floating around. That looks perfect. Let's get it into our pan. I like to leave the edges of my parchment paper intact because it makes it nice and easy to slide the cake out of the pan when it's finished. Pour your mixture into the pan. Now get it straight into the oven. Preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 165 degrees Celsius. This is going to bake for about 45 minutes or until a skewer goes in and comes out with just a few crumbs. It's quite a moist cake. The cake will sink as it cools, but that's what's going to give it the classic Torta Caprese texture. While your cake is hot out of the oven, run a knife around the outside of your pan. This makes sure there's no crackage as the cake starts to cool. As promised, it comes off nice and easy with the parchment just as it is. And then we're just going to peel it back from the underneath. And in true Torta Caprese fashion, I'm going to put a cooling rack on top of the cake before dusting it with icing sugar. It gives it that beautiful finished grid look. Then let it cool completely before serving. You can eat this once it's cooled, but I prefer mine left overnight in the refrigerator to really set up. This can be kept in an airtight container in the refrigerator for about 3 days, if it lasts that long. If you'd like to try the more traditional chocolate version of a Torta Caprese, you have to try my recipe here. If you found this video helpful, please head down below and hit the like button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.